Okay. I think we are live. Let's see if we can get to the main camera. And there we are. Welcome to the Ango show. What's up, everybody? It's Ango. What's up? It's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. We just concluded AEW Dynamite. What's up, chat? Albert Ponce, Smokey, Polar, Phantasm, Orlando, CPRS, Dale, what's up? Bobby Dalton. Bobby Dalton says thunderstorms here knocked out part of the show. Man, we're actually getting some storms here in Michigan too. Spring is coming, man. Spring is coming. And soon, I've been going running a little bit outside. There's like a trail or whatever, not too far. It's like 6-7 mile trail. And I just started running and just, got to tone down a little bit for the summer. And it's going to be really cool. No, I am not tired. I'm just really excited for spring and summer. AEW Dynamite was awesome today, so that was really cool. You guys could tell the title, Blackpool Combat Club. Whoo! Shit, dude, that was insane. That was really cool. Something I didn't expect. It's like a legitimate fight club name, so that's pretty cool. Larry Loggins, what's up, brother? What's up? We are definitely going to talk about AEW Dynamite tonight. There was definitely a lot to unpack. Hopefully the quality and everything here is good. Hopefully the audio levels, the video quality, everything is working. What's up, Nate TV? Steven, what's up? Myra, welcome to the show. What a day. This was an awesome show. I will say, for those who have been coming to my WWE reviews, you know that I've been really happy with WWE lately. Raw, NXT, SmackDown. Just lately, I feel like there's been an overall improvement with WWE. Now, tonight I was watching Dynamite, and honestly, I just felt really excited about what we were seeing. It was a little bit of a breath of fresh air for AEW. An episode that wasn't being promoted around surprises or debuts or anything like that, and just a very solid freaking show. So yeah, I definitely want to dive into it. There is a lot to unpack. There is a lot to discuss. I got some notes as always. Holy shit, Jeff Hardy. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Jeff Hardy. I already see people in the chat going crazy about Jeff Hardy. So definitely we are talking about Jeff Hardy 1,000,000% without a doubt. Don't worry. I will talk about Jeff Hardy. And for as positive as I am about AEW, and for a lot of stuff that I do like about AEW, there is one thing in particular I will, just spoiler alert, when I get to it, you will know that I'm going to bury the absolute shit out of it. It's just the truth. There's one thing on this show that to me, I feel like I just have to bury. I have to. Like, there's no way that I don't do it. So we will get to that in just a moment. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. As always, I have the date wrong. Shame on me, right? We should probably fix that. I didn't fix the date on the show. Today is the 23rd. Nonetheless, we're going to get that taken care of. That's fixed. Okay. Really cool. Out of 5, how would I rate tonight's Dynamite? I'll give it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. Just like Raw and NXT, I feel like it was just a really solid show. Nothing really like, and I'm gonna say this in the most respectful way possible. Okay, tonight's episode was a good episode because AEW right now is in a weird situation with their storytelling. We're waiting for Double or Nothing. It's not a can't miss episode. This is an episode that is really, really good, but you can always watch it on DVR and get back to it. So again, I'm going to say that in like the positive way. Like it's not a can't miss episode. There was no surprise. There was no debut. There's not a real big story happening in AEW right now. They're trying to work towards it, but it's just not there. And that's not a problem. That's not a bad thing. I say that positively. I would say it's a 4 out of 5. I think a lot of good came from it. There is one thing though. And Albert Ponce, I already see Albert Ponce is in the chat. I mean, Albert follows me on Twitter too. But, dude... I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to talk about it because I do think it is important to have that conversation about the good, bad, and the ugly. And honestly, there's nothing really bad. So actually, let me just, typically when I talk, there's the good, there's the bad, and there's the ugly. When it comes to AEW Dynamite today, there was nothing bad. There was really, really good stuff. And then there was something so freaking ugly, just so outlandish, so unimaginable. I can't believe AEW has even gone to that part of storytelling, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, I do want to talk a little bit about the show's sponsor. As you guys know, I own streammusic.gg. It's a music platform. Basically, I'm producing music and uploading music. I'm working with a couple partners. And basically, the way that it works is we upload music to Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all these other streaming platforms. If you guys ever hear the intro songs to my videos or the outros or anything like that, that's actually from streammusic.gg. A lot of cool electronic music, some cinematic music. If you guys want to check it out, I would greatly appreciate it. The idea for Stream Music is actually so content creators can use music for their streams, Twitch streams, gaming streams, whatever it is, maybe their YouTube videos. If you guys want to check it out, that would be appreciated. But with that being said, today is March 23rd, 2022. AEW Dynamite has concluded. My name is Ango. This is the Ango Show. I talk to you guys about pro wrestling on a daily basis, 7 days a week. I'm constantly coming up with new videos, which is very exciting. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of things happening in wrestling. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, just to give you a brief explanation, I love all types of wrestling, and it's really hard to piss me off when it comes to wrestling. I think I like pretty much everything. There's some stuff I don't like, but I'm not very biased. I don't have a bias towards one individual company or the other. I like a little bit of WWE. I like a little bit of AEW and Impact and New Japan, but I also hate a little bit of all of these companies too, right? And that's normal. I think that is normal, at least. Nonetheless, today's Dynamite was a very, very good episode. A lot to unpack, so let's talk about it. First things first, we need to talk about the opening match to Dynamite. So we get Dax Harwood versus CM Punk. Now, this was announced by Tony Khan prior to the show going on the air, and if I'm being completely honest with you, just from a fan's perspective, on paper, I just thought this was dumb. Like, bear with me here, but I thought this was dumb. Because obviously FTR right now, I feel like they're kind of in creative limbo. We don't know if Bret Hart is coming, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I feel like there is a little bit of creative limbo happening for FTR as it stands. So when I saw that this match was announced as a singles match, I was kind of confused. But then I was totally cool with it once the match happened. Not a very long match, but a fantastic match. Now, FTR is probably my favorite tag team in all of wrestling right now. And by the way, when I say that, that is a very difficult thing to say. Just largely due to the fact that, like, honestly, if you look at AEW, if you look at New Japan, if you look at Impact, if you look at, all of these wrestling companies, and honestly, you can't leave out WWE. I'm not saying WWE's tag team division is even close to being as good as AEW Dynamite, but the Usos, the New Day, you look at NXT and you see the Grizzled Young Vets, you look at Imperium, you see MSK. There is a lot of great tag teams in pro wrestling right now, which I think that's why it bothers me genuinely that Vince McMahon does not push tag team wrestling as it should be. Now AEW has FTR, and I genuinely believe that FTR is a really, really good tag team. I think they are the best tag team, and I really, really hope that one day they can capture the IWGP Tag Team Championship belts. I would love to see them capture those Impact Championship belts. I do think FTR is going to win those ROH Championship belts at ROH Supercard of Honor. But goodness gracious, FTR is the best tag team in pro wrestling. So to see Dax Harwood get a singles match, I will be completely honest with you. I just genuinely felt like first of all, this match gets announced. I'm concerned by this match being announced. Then they have this match, and perfect match. Perfect match. This was literally a perfect match, and I don't think there's a scenario right now in today, in AEW today, I don't think there's a scenario in which CM Punk should be the world champion just yet. Which is why I love how this worked out. CM Punk defeats Dax Harwood. But right now, it's too soon for CM Punk to become a champion. And the reason for that is because right now we have Adam Cole and Adam Hangman Page going for the belt. And I feel like CM Punk getting involved in that doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, we do know at some point MJF plans to revisit CM Punk because MJF literally said it in his promo tonight. But CM Punk beating Dax Harwood, fantastic match. And then he signals for the belt, right? He wants the belt. And I think right now it's a slow burn. You're not trying to put CM Punk in this really, really crazy feud. Obviously, the one with MJF just concluded. Obviously, you're not going to have FTR feud with CM Punk because it looks like FTR is becoming a babyface tag team. So when it comes to the overall career of CM Punk as it stands right now, I think we're just watching CM Punk climb through the rankings, right? Because it's all about the rankings in AEW. So on paper, I was like, holy shit, this was a terrible idea. Why are you going to have Dax Harwood, who's in a tag team, which is in creative limbo? Why are you going to have them go against... Why are you going to have one of them go against CM Punk? There's no reason for it. Now it makes sense. You're building up a lineup of opponents for CM Punk. Honestly, I was so glad that I was wrong about that because I genuinely felt really good about what I saw there. Now, I do want to make it very clear. I look at FTR as a really, really, really good tag team. It scares me right now with what is happening to them on AEW television. And it's a little too soon. I do have to wait for it to play out. I absolutely have to wait for it to play out. But I do want to see FTR being taken a little bit more seriously in this company. I know the Hardys are there. I know we got a lot of tag teams, and I know that tag team wrestling is a really big focus for AEW, but we need to start doing something very serious with FTR almost immediately. Almost immediately. I think they need to be at the top of the tag team division. This is a perfect match because CM Punk gets to go over. CM Punk continues to increase his record and his rankings. He's climbing the ladder. And Dax Harwood losing, it's okay. Now, later on in the show, by the way, FTR has a backstage segment, and they're being interviewed. And one of the things that Cash ends up saying, Cash Wheeler goes, in this backstage segment, Cash Wheeler basically says, Dax Harwood wrestles with Hart. And for those who haven't been watching AEW recently, there has been a lot of talk and a lot of teases and a lot of rumors floating around with Bret Hart coming to AEW. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because when you have such a significant match with Dax Harwood and CM Punk wins. He's increasing his chances of getting to the World Championship. They'll eventually have a point in which CM Punk could go for the title, right? But in the meantime, Dax Harwood, who is not a singles wrestler, actually loses. And because he loses here, I think with them teasing Bret Hart, I think by Double or Nothing, Bret Hart does manage FTR. And I think Bret Hart is going to be the guy that gets them back on track. Now, if that is not the plan for FTR, then I don't know what the hell Tony Khan is thinking. And I say this in a respectful manner. But as I have stated before several times, FTR is my favorite tag team in all of pro wrestling. These guys continue to be the best workers. They have a huge respect for the business. These guys are just really legitimate. And the nice thing with them and Bret Hart is obviously there is a callback to history. Now, to me, it sounds like AEW is setting up Bret Hart for sure because there is this build-up with the Gun Club and FTR, which, mind you, you have to keep in mind that Billy Gunn and Bret Hart probably aren't going to be wrestling in this situation. But if you obviously have the Gun Club versus FTR with Billy Gunn and Bret Hart managing, there's some storytelling there. And I think that's where AEW can really exceed here. I've mentioned it many times. I've said AEW does a fantastic job, honestly, with the way that they treat the older veterans of the business. And it's almost become apparent that AEW wants you to know that Bret Hart is coming back. So let's just say, for example, Bret Hart does come back. Let's say we get FTR versus the Gun Club. First of all, shout out to the Gun Club for being put in a prominent storyline because more than likely they're not going to win that feud. But the nice thing is those two young gentlemen are going to have an opportunity to work with not only my favorite tag team, but arguably the best tag team. And then you also get this opportunity to put them in the ring with Bret Hart, which, by the way, is just a huge endorsement in itself. So ultimately, AEW wants you to know that Bret Hart is coming. It's not shocking at this point if he does come, and hopefully he gets FTR back to their winning ways. Otherwise, firing Tully Blanchard could be the biggest regret and the biggest mistake that AEW could have made. Now, I don't know if there's been any reports or anything that's been mentioned about Tully Blanchard possibly leaving AEW, but if Tully Blanchard is not leaving AEW, then there might be a really good opportunity for Tully Blanchard to start managing somebody else. And I know this is a really weird thing, but AEW hasn't really been talking about the Pinnacle. I haven't really seen them all together. It's been a really long time. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm forgetting something. Maybe it's just not clicking in my brain. But what the hell happened to the Pinnacle, right? You got FTR, Shawn Spears. You had Wardlow. Now that's not the case, right? I think we got to a point in this situation where perhaps AEW can have Tully Blanchard just do something else. Maybe just have him strictly work with Shawn Spears. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I really like Tully. I really enjoyed his work with Shawn Spears. But obviously, him not being with FTR, it tells me that AEW's got something in the works. And I do look forward to seeing what that is. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think as well. I do want to revisit a super chat. So it appears Albert Ponce left a $5 super chat. Albert says, I feel FTR vs. Gun Club is setting up Brett's arrival with Billy interfering in the match if he is indeed signing. Wait, setting up Brett's arrival with... Oh, yeah, Brett and Billy. Okay. Yeah, no, 100%. I absolutely agree. And I think it's kind of like what I was talking about just a moment ago. Thank you again, Albert, for your super chat. I appreciate it. But yeah, I just think it works out for all parties, right? Like, the Gun Club shouldn't win this. The Gun Club has no reason to win this. But ideally, the Gun Club is like a team of the future, right? And I said this before, and I know a lot of people won't agree with this, but I did say this before on my channel, and I said, you know, guys like Private Party and all of these tag teams, they should start having tag team matches with the Hardys, and the reason for that is because at some point, the Hardys are going to retire. Now, let's just say, for example, Private Party goes 10 weeks from now, 10 years from now, they become this massive tag team, right? Whenever you do a documentary, whenever anything like that happens, you have the ability to literally go back, right? You can literally go back and revisit the history when they worked with these legendary tag teams. That is literally no different for Gun Club working with FTR and of course Bret Hart. You know, they'll be able to speak on that experience, and I think that is important. Myra just sent in a $10 super chat. I agree. FTR is just amazing. And how are they not in the tag team limelight? If and when Bret Hart arrives, let's hope it's for the better of FTR. Otherwise, facepalm. Yeah, Myra, thank you for your $10 super chat. Albert, thank you for your $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it. And I do agree. I really think FTR is just amazing. How are they not in the tag team limelight? You know, this is like, if this is not building to something really special with FTR, I'm not going to have confidence in Tony Khan. I'm really not. And I say that meaningfully. Like, I say that with a ton of meaning. I genuinely believe that. Tony Khan has a very tough job. He has a lot of stuff on his plate, and that is completely fine. I appreciate the work that he puts in. I can see that he's dedicated to wrestling. But if Tony Khan does not have a game plan here with FTR, if this is just some random stuff that they're doing on TV, it's going to be disappointing. And I don't know if I can trust Tony Khan to actually establish good stories and good build-ups, you know? The jury is still out on that verdict. Tony Khan could put on a good wrestling show. We know that. We know that Tony Khan could put on an incredible pay-per-view. But aside from good matches, big pops, and big surprises, what is Tony Khan really, really going to bring to the table when it comes to wrestling? And, you know, and I say this again, I really like Tony Khan, and I like his vision, and I like what he's been able to do, but at the same time, too, this is a big test for Tony and AEW. Now, the good news is, I think they have made it so obvious that they want you to know Bret Hart is coming that it's like, again, the worst kept secret, right? So with that being said, I don't worry about this. I am one of those people, which I get criticized for this a lot, but I am one of those people that I like to let it play out. Literally with everything in pro wrestling, I like to let it play out. So with that being said, thank you, Myra, for your $10 super chat. If you guys want to leave a super chat, I'll go ahead and read some of your comments and questions on the screen. And then, of course, you can also become a member. It's $4.99 a month. Tons of cool perks, all that good stuff. As always, though, I'm going to keep you guys updated. So let's move on. CM Punk versus Dak, really cool. Dax Harwood and CM Punk was just a really cool match. Something I wasn't anticipating before we got it. I really enjoyed it. And by the way, we need to talk about that counter. I don't even want to talk about this because it's just expected at this point. Dax Harwood is just so good. But the counter from the go to sleep to the sharpshooter, right? That was just fantastic stuff. The next match that we get, and let me just preface this by saying this is one of the greatest things AEW has done on television. Okay? Let's talk about it. Jeff Hardy is in AEW. And when we saw Jeff Hardy leave WWE, it was sad. It was depressing. It was weird. It was strange. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. A lot of people were worried that Jeff Hardy has gone off the rails. And look, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of conversations about Jeff Hardy and what happened in WWE. Tony Khan brings in Jeff Hardy, and he is taking advantage. Absolutely. We get this incredible match. Sting, Darby Allin, and the Hardys against Butcher, the Blade, and of course Private Party, an 8-man tornado tag match. Now, one of the things that I have to say about this match was all over the place. It was everywhere, in the crowd, backstage, arenas. I mean, literally everything and anything you can imagine. But this right here is literally Jeff Hardy at his age has been in AEW for a very, very short period of time. Is this what, week 2, week 3? Jeff Hardy is already doing crazy shit. By the way, it's not even on pay-per-view. It's not on a $50 pay-per-view. It's on a free episode of weekly television. Jeff Hardy, like, I just want people to understand how absolutely insane Jeff Hardy is, because this is incredibly crazy. First of all, Jeff Hardy climbing a ladder by, what is it called, a windowsill or whatever? They're like in the lobby of the arena. Butcher and the Blade are lying down on the tables. The ref is holding down the ladder. Sting is holding the guys down on the table. Jeff Hardy climbs the ladder. Being on top of the ladder isn't enough, so he climbs up near the window and does a swanton bomb. Jeff Hardy is the craziest person in wrestling next to Darby Allin. Like, AEW is absolutely insane for putting this on free TV. Now, here's the thing. Because I know a lot of people, they tend to criticize me on my channel sometimes because I'll talk about how, like, AEW just does some crazy ass shit on TV, right? And I sometimes criticize that, like AEW just pulling out all the stops for their TV show. And I get criticized because I mention that in a way where it's like, I think sometimes people think I'm like bagging on AEW, like their show isn't good unless they do crazy stuff like this. Guys, you have Jeff Hardy jumping off the freaking window, like the wall, like he's doing this crazy shit on TV. I don't really care if this is for a big pop or not. This was just an incredible moment. I genuinely believe Jeff Hardy is absolutely nuts. Having Jeff Hardy climb that ladder, deliver a swanton bomb. And by the way, in this entire match, it's not just Jeff Hardy doing crazy shit. You got Darby Allin, Sting, and everybody's pretty much pulling out all the stops to make this match a must-see match. It's AEW Dynamite on free TV. Jeff Hardy is like 40-something years old. And I say that respectfully. But this guy ain't young, okay? From what he was doing in WWE to what he's doing in AEW, selfishly, I would love to see him do this every single week. This guy is not... This guy should not be doing these types of things. The amount of physical damage that Jeff Hardy and... Jeff Hardy and Darby Allin just do some crazy stunts, getting through the steps, these swanton bombs, like whatever it is, man, like they're just willing to put it all on the line. And, I think that's the difference between AEW and WWE. It really is the difference between WWE and AEW. AEW will let their wrestlers do some more dangerous shit. But, selfishly, I will say I was definitely entertained. And yes, I do criticize. I do criticize AEW at times that sometimes I say this right. I say sometimes if you remove the spots, the pops, the surprise debuts, sometimes AEW's product falls flat. And I do stand by that statement 100%. 100% I stand by that statement. But I would be looking like a fool if I didn't tell you guys how much I genuinely love this match. This match is actually one of the best matches in the history of AEW Dynamite. And it's not just because Jeff Hardy jumped off of the wall, right, and doing this stuff. It's the crowd, the energy, the excitement. It's a good wrestling match. You have Sting and Darby Allin doing a lot of great things. You have Butcher and the Blade, who look incredibly well. I talked about FTR being my favorite tag team. Now, let me just make it very clear, because this is super important to mention too. I look at that tag team, Butcher and the Blade, and I'm thinking like, it just sucks for them. They're pretty much OG signings that are dealing with a company that just has too many good tag teams. It's hard for them to stand out. But again, tonight was an impressive showing for everybody involved. I just love this match through and through. There's nothing I could say wrong about it. Jeff Hardy is crazy. I want you to know that he's crazy. And look, man, that was just a wonderful moment. As a fan, I just thought it was wonderful. And it was just a really cool match. Obviously, the Hardys winning makes a lot of sense. Matt Hardy, man, by the way, I just feel like he never gets a lot of love. I think Jeff always gets more love than him. But Matt Hardy is just incredible, too. So don't forget that. I don't want to make it sound like I'm only into Jeff. Matt is still the shit. So just keep that in mind. We got the Scorpion Death Drop. We had the Twist of Fate at the same time in stereo sync. Obviously, that's how the match ends. Very cool finish there as well. But at this point, guys, I think, honestly, like, I'm just looking at the chat. I'm reading a lot of stuff. MGT Gaming says Jeff Hardy needs to slow down a bit. He needs to understand he's not the Jeff Hardy of before. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. He needs to slow down. But, hey, I'm going to tell you, as a fan, I enjoyed it. So he can do whatever he wants. He's a grown-ass man. He can make his own decisions. If he wants to keep wrestling like that, yeah, I don't know. That was just really strange. That AEW, well, it's not strange. Let me reverse. It's not strange that AEW allows them to do that. AEW allows their people to do whatever the hell they want. I can see why WWE doesn't allow their wrestlers to do that shit. It's just not safe. It's really not. Now, obviously, AEW wrestlers are really safe. They do practice these things. And Jeff Hardy too. They do set themselves up to be safe. But yeah, Jeff Hardy is not 20 years old. He's a little bit up there in age. And it's like Sting, when Sting, a couple weeks ago, when Sting was at Revolution, what the hell, man? This guy's 62 years old. These guys, like, and I hate to say this, man, I really, really do. But when you look at AEW, at least when I look at AEW and I see they have a lot of young wrestlers and they have some good wrestlers, I see a lot of young wrestlers. The only young wrestler who's doing the crazy shit is Darby Allin. Everybody else is trying to, like, all the other young guys, they're trying to, it's Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, they'll do the crazy spots, but everybody else is really just trying to prolong their life. And it's like Sting and Jeff Hardy are like, fuck it, we don't give a shit, we'll just keep doing this stuff. So it's like, it's super crazy. I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny, but nonetheless, yeah, it was really cool. I actually did enjoy that, and it wasn't something that I expected. The next thing that we get is the varsity. So we get the Varsity Blondes versus the new faction of Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, this new tag team. Now, by this point in time, we don't really know anything about this new tag team. We don't know anything about this tag team. Now, AEW has Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson win. It's not that long of a match. It's a nice little back and forth match. But again, these tag team matches are really to make sure that fans know that Danielson and Moxley are just a really good freaking tag team. Just two really good wrestlers. That's what AEW is establishing here. So AEW is giving young wrestlers the chance to work with them, and they're setting up that opportunity. And honestly, I think AEW has done a phenomenal job, 100%, with everything they've done with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Now, last week we heard William Regal cut a promo. After this match, today we actually have Jon Moxley cut a promo. Jon Moxley cuts his promo, absolutely beautiful, absolutely incredible. When Jon Moxley cuts his promo too, he reveals, we get the reveal. This team is now called the Blackpool Combat Club, and they have officially arrived in AEW. Now this group, this tag team, this thing is going to grow. This thing is going to be something big. It is going to take a little bit of time to see how it pans out and what, who joins and everything. But this match did something really special for AEW. Okay? There's two things that AEW established here. And this is why a match like this is so important on television. And I'll look at the chat, I'll look at the comments, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong here. But AEW is establishing two things. Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson with William Regal is a very serious threat to the AEW tag team division. Despite not being a true tag team like the Young Bucks or Private Party or Varsity Blondes or Penta and Phoenix or some of these other teams, right? FTR, they're not naturally a tag team, but they put two guys together, two singles guys, and they've immediately made them a big threat in this tag team division. And, you know, we talked about FTR today, and I genuinely believe, like, I want to watch FTR versus Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Like, that's a match that, like, it's must-see. For me, that's must-see. Like, if AEW Dynamite has it in the main event one day, that is the match I need to watch. So I watched this, and I see that AEW established that Blackpool Combat Club is a very big deal in AEW. They're a very serious threat, and they're the ones to watch, right? But also, during this match, the camera pans to Julia Hart. Julia Hart is like 19 or 20 years old. She's very, very young. She's not on Dynamite all the time, but the last time we really seen Julia Hart was in a prominent role in AEW was when she obviously got hit with the black mist from Aleister Black or whatever. And since then, she's just been acting strange. So the camera pans to Julia Hart. She's not looking at them. She's still wearing the eye patch. She's not paying attention to the Varsity Blondes. Obviously, the Varsity Blondes lose. So not only does AEW establish that Moxley and Danielson are the freaking most amazing tag team duo in the world, but they really, really did establish that Julia Hart still has something going on. And I do believe that Julia Hart is going to join the House of Black. So let's talk about that. Why should Julia Hart join the House of Black? Well, when you see her in the middle of Varsity Blondes versus Moxley and Bryan Danielson, and she's sitting there focused, not paying attention to the ring, she's got the eye patch on, obviously something is going on with her. Something's going on with Julia Hart. And this is a slow burn. This is not something that AEW is reminding you of every single week on TV, but AEW is letting you know that something is incredibly wrong with Julia Hart, and it's leading to something. Now, here's the thing. Julia Hart is young. She doesn't have the same level of wrestling experience as maybe somebody like Thunder Rosa or Britt Baker or any of these other people. And that's not a problem. It's not a big deal at all. That comes with time and development. But I look at House of Black and I see, you know, they got something special. The presentation, the music, everything is working for them. House of Black has also been booked very strongly in AEW. And I just think, wow, it would be so much better with them having a female in their group. Now, Julia Hart is somebody in AEW who is a cheerleader. She is a pretty girl, right? And, you know, the thing is, that kind of character transforming into a very dark character, there's layers to that. And there is depth to that. There is a story behind that. And I think that's what people are interested in seeing how that happens. Because naturally, whenever we talk about House of Black, right, you always hear of rumors of like, oh, maybe it's going to be Abaddon, because Abaddon's character is incredibly dark. It's incredibly scary. And it would make sense for a character like that to be paired with House of Black. Julia Hart, on the other hand, would be a very, very interesting transition for AEW. And I think this right here is going to essentially show how good is AEW at really developing characters for a pro wrestling show. Say what you want. You can try to argue with me that AEW is not sports entertainment. At its core, AEW is sports entertainment just like WWE. The focus is always on the in-ring stuff. And that's why when you watch AEW at times, sometimes the characters, sometimes the storytelling isn't perfect. And I'm not saying that as like an overall statement. I'm just saying sometimes you're watching and you're like, okay, well, this didn't make sense or this didn't make sense, but everything else was perfect, right? Julia Hart is in a situation where right now she can go from the pretty girl cheerleader to becoming a very, very dark character. And I think if AEW can tell this story correctly, if they can hit a home run, they are going to establish Julia Hart as a top-level heel in the women's division. Now, mind you, in the women's division, there is a lot of talent because AEW started to actually use their women. And it's not perfect yet. They still have a little bit of time until they get it to where it should be. But it is very clear that the AEW women's division has a lot of potential. And it's getting better and better and better. So when you look at the women that have an opportunity to grow in the company, Julia Hart might be able to really become a decent name. And that's why I love this Blackpool Combat Club, because you had this tag team match, and just a small little glimpse of Julia Hart was all you needed to just remind yourself that, holy shit, this girl still has something wrong with her. AEW hasn't dropped the storyline. AEW is continuing to tell the story. It's a slow burn. Now, hopefully, AEW doesn't take 6 years to tell this story, because if they can do it in an appropriate amount of time, and we can see her transition into a heel with House of Black, that's going to be really interesting. And then the question becomes, is that a long-term storytelling thing where, like, Julia Hart just flat out becomes a heel and maybe the Varsity Blondes try to help her, maybe try to snap her out of it? Or does this become a thing where she's like permanently with House of Black and Julia Hart, the cheerleader, is long gone? You know, I think, and this is why I like it so much. I've told you guys on my live streams on the Ango show, I really do love characters in wrestling. You know, it's cool to see the big spots. It's cool to see the big moments and all that stuff. But I really do believe characters improve and enhance the show. And I really love what they're doing with Julia Hart. We just got another $5 super chat from Myra. Again, no arguing here. I think you're highlighting the good AEW can do with an up-and-coming wrestler character, much needed in the women's division. Thank you, Myra. Yes, I agree. I really do think this shows what AEW can do. And you know, I am one of the people that say, let it play out. So we do have to let it play out. There is no lie. That is no lie. We have to watch it play out. I cannot sit here and tell you that it's going to be a big good thing or a big and bad thing. It's going to be something big, clearly, because they're obviously spreading it over time. But they're going to treat it like a big thing. Now, does it work? Does it flop? I don't know. I just think with the way characters are in wrestling, this makes a lot of sense. And I do think character development is just so important in wrestling. I really do. And you got to be more than just a pro wrestler. You got to be more than a pro wrestler. And the problem is, every wrestler needs an identity, and you can have a bad identity in pro wrestling. And I just can't see how this would be a bad identity for Julia Hart. I think it makes Julia Hart immediately associated with, by the way, I would say they're probably the most dominant group in AEW when you really think about it. House of Black at this point is just truly incredible. The booking has been remarkable. You don't really ask questions as to whether or not they're going to pan out. I think it's pretty obvious AEW has done a phenomenal job with them. Thank you again, Myra, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that greatly. So yeah, just overall some really cool stuff. At this point, it was clear to me that AEW was just a fantastic show. It was very clear to me. We do get a promo, by the way, with MJF. I don't want to spend too much time on this. One of the things I remember him saying out of this promo was just like, you just weren't good enough to beat Scorpio Sky or something like that. Just a typical heel jackass move. MJF is awesome, man. And it goes back to what I say about characters. MJF has a character. He's a piece of shit. He's an asshole. He does it so well. There's not much to say here, honestly. Just really cool. I think, obviously, MJF and Wardlow is a feud that I can't wait to see. And this is another example of AEW just doing a good job of building them up. MJF does mention that he wants a crack at CM Punk again. He doesn't know when or how it will happen, but he knows at some point they will revisit this. So now it gets me back to CM Punk winning the championship. So let's talk about that. So when CM Punk beats Dax Harwood, again on Dynamite, he signals for the World Championship. At this point, later on in the show, we have MJF. He cuts this promo and basically lets the world know that him and CM Punk will have another opportunity again to wrestle each other. Now, I think it is very important for AEW, at least in this situation, to hold off. And it's not something that has to be done even in 2022. It's not something that has to be done by the end of this year, because there's just so much happening in AEW on a weekly basis. And I just think right now you have so much opportunity to continue building whatever you're trying to build with Hangman Page, Adam Cole. You got to establish that storyline. There's no need to rush CM Punk as a world champion. But I think AEW very well needs to revisit this no later than 2023. Like literally at this time next year, Double or Nothing 2023, I do believe we have to get CM Punk versus MJF World Championship match. No cheating, no bullshit, no shenanigans. And mark my words, we can revisit this part of the video a year from now, and we will see what AEW has done. But I want MJF versus CM Punk. We don't need a gimmick match. We don't need any outside interference. We don't need ref bumps. We just need a one-on-one match. Let them tell the story. Two good wrestlers with history. AEW needs to book this match. It is no question, 1,000,000%. I need AEW to look at this as an opportunity because MJF cuts this promo saying at some point they will run it back. He doesn't know when, he doesn't know where, he doesn't know how, but he knows they'll have an opportunity to run it back. MJF needs to become a world champion, and I think in order to really put over MJF as a world champion, you got to have him take out the top guy. Now, what's funny is in 2019, when I really talked about Chris Jericho coming to AEW and being the world champion, I said MJF should be the first person to ever kick out of the Judas effect from Chris Jericho. That has still yet to happen. I was completely wrong about that. But I said it would make a very big splash for MJF's career to be the first person to ever kick out of that move because it is the most protected finisher in wrestling next to Baron Corbin's End of Days. Nobody's kicked out of it, either finisher. Those two finishers are the most protected in wrestling right now. So I look at this as an opportunity for AEW Double or Nothing 2023. Now, it is March 2022, so what are we going to do for this next year? Well, I think there is a lot of opportunities for AEW here to establish MJF and CM Punk in their situation, in their respective situations. If you look at MJF as it stands right now, he's going to more than likely feud with Wardlow. That's going to obviously get dragged out for a couple months, and I do believe MJF can go into some other feuds, whether it's for the TNT Championship, whether he is just feuding with other people. It doesn't really matter. He can kind of go about this because he's just an asshole, he's just a prick, and that's just the way that it works. Now, with that being said, from now until that time, CM Punk should really just be involved in winning matches. He really should. He should really. I mean, I just think CM Punk should be winning matches. Maybe do some tag team matches. Get some dream matches out of the way. Have CM Punk build up an impressive record. So that way, when CM Punk does win the championship belt, he should be carrying the belt for at least a year. At least a year. 6 months to a year. And if I'm AEW, I do it in Vegas. I do it. I think at that point you have built up CM Punk as a dominant champion. And I think after he becomes the champion, just have him defend the belt against people that they're trying to, get the rub, obviously, from working with CM Punk. You're going to see random matches with CM Punk. That's what it's going to look like for the next year. Whether he's champion or not, CM Punk will have random matches with random people that obviously get the rub from working with him. But then when the time comes back, when the time comes around, you have this opportunity now to put MJF, CM Punk, and then you have the history to revisit. Keep in mind, look what AEW has done with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. A year later, they have their match at the St. Patty's Day Slam. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. I think AEW having CM Punk versus MJF truthfully does make the most sense. They need to revisit it. It doesn't need to happen right away. Keep it away for a while. And I think once you have that moment for MJF to take the belt off CM Punk, no questions asked. He didn't have to cheat. No outside interference. No ref bumps. No fucking bullshit. Seriously. No bullshit. Have him actually beat CM Punk clean. There you go. 2023, MJF becomes the world champion that everybody knows he could be. And I think AEW at that point truly cements MJF as the top guy. And by the way, if they don't do this, I'm telling you, Cody Rhodes won't be the only person going to WWE from AEW. Especially if Cody Rhodes is given a massive push in WWE, I think there is a lot of talent. Truth be told, I think there's a lot of talent at AEW who are going to pay attention to see how WWE books Cody Rhodes. Now, whether MJF is actually seriously going to go to WWE or not, I don't think so. I've been saying for a while, I don't think so. But if he becomes a free agent, you never know. I think Tony Khan has made it pretty clear he's got a lot of faith and trust in MJF. But you got to give him that title belt by 2023. Have him take it off CM Punk. It makes the most sense. By the way, while I was talking, actually, I didn't want to interrupt my train of thought. Albert Ponce left a $2 super chat. He says they can come back to it once Punk wins the title. It's almost like Albert Ponce was just listening to everything I was saying. But yeah, brother, I appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. But yeah, no, I think that's the right way to do it. I think the way to do it is just have Punk win the belt at some point. Don't give the belt to Adam Cole. Adam Cole doesn't need the belt. Have Hangman Page win the belt. You can do babyface versus babyface, right? You look at Blackpool Combat Club. Are they babyfaces? Are they heels? I don't know. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. CM Punk could kind of be the tweener, and so can Hangman Page. They could just two good wrestlers, and Hangman Page could drop the belt. That's the way I would establish it for AEW if I was them, personally speaking. We get Jay Lethal versus Adam Cole. I don't really want to talk about this. It's a cool match, whatever. It is what it is. Whatever, right? Like, they're not strangers to each other. It's not a match we haven't seen before. We've seen the lethal injection counter before. It's happened so many times. I feel like it's nothing. It's a typical Adam Cole match in AEW. He low blows him, hits his finisher, he steals the match, right? Good match. It is what it is. Adam Cole's gonna keep doing his thing. I think Adam Cole cheats eventually and beats. I think he beats Hangman Page by cheating. Maybe he doesn't even win the belt, honestly. There's a chance that he doesn't win because Kenny Omega might cost him the win. I don't know. But clearly, at this point, people hate when I say this, but I just personally enjoyed Adam Cole in NXT so much more. I did. I'm not saying AEW screwed up with him. I'm not saying he's bad in AEW. I just think right now speaking, this is just whatever. It's not, to me, this doesn't feel as important, which is a little bit sad, but I'm just being honest. This is something I've said for weeks now, so it's not something I want to dive into too much. Cool match, good match, not anything against it. It just, I feel like it is what it is. It just kind of happened. It just kind of existed. We do get a backstage segment, by the way. Wheeler Yuta. I don't even know what the hell is going on, man. You know, Trent is like not happy. He's making his shit known. Like, he's making it known to Wheeler Yuta. Like, they have this interaction backstage. Wheeler Yuta could very well be breaking up from the best friends. I don't know if that's their plan, but if they do decide to put Wheeler Yuta with Blackpool Combat Club, that would be really cool. I'm kind of interested to see how that works. I think it's time for best friends to kind of break up. I think it should just literally be Orange Cassidy, Trent, and obviously Trent, Beretta, and then Chuck Taylor, and then obviously Orange Cassidy. I think those three should stick together. I think Chris Statlander needs to do her own thing, which we're kind of seeing that happen right now as it is. I think Wheeler Yuta needs to do his own thing, and truth be told, I think Danhausen needs to do his own thing as well. After that, though, we do get a... you guys aren't ready for this. You guys remember in the beginning of the show, I said there was something I absolutely hated? I want to talk about this. Albert says, is Trent a slow burn heel turn? It's possible. It is possible. I think, I don't know what they're planning on doing. Trent Beretta is so good, though, man. Trent Beretta and Chucky, man. Chuck Taylor, Chucky T, and Trent Beretta should be, like, together, man. I don't know. It's just a strange situation. I don't know what they're going to do there. I think it's a very interesting situation. But now I do want to talk about the worst thing on AEW Dynamite. Okay? We get an in-ring promo with Tainara Conti and Sammy Guevara. Sammy gives it all in the ring. He does this for the fans. This is garbage. This is absolutely garbage. Now, when you guys watch my live shows, or when you guys watch my review shows, or when you guys even hear me talk about Sammy Guevara, I have always talked positively about Sammy Guevara. A really good wrestler. A really good talent. Out of nowhere, they want to bring real life into the show, which is fine. But this is not working. Ty Conti, Sammy Guevara, it's not working. And to make matters worse, they literally put they put him in the ring cutting a promo against Dan Lambert and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page and Paige Van Zandt. Like, they're cutting this promo against them. There's a back and forth. This is garbage. And there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. This is the worst shit I've ever seen on AEW television. This is honestly the worst shit I think I've ever seen on AEW TV, which is crazy because Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara are literally my two favorites in AEW. And I don't know if this is AEW trying to position them in a way where maybe potentially they're trying to do like a Miz and Maurice, which I've actually said they should do because it would be a character. But the promo delivery here was just not good in my opinion. It was just not good. Nothing about this was convincing. It was just really, really, really bad. And I really genuinely thought this was the worst segment. And I hate saying that. I really, really hate saying that because I feel bad. But this was the worst segment of AEW. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti cutting this promo in the ring was bad enough. You add Dan Lambert in the mix, and it was bad enough. Dan Lambert kisses his TNT championship belt, and Sammy Guevara says something along the lines of like, oh, you should have seen what we did with that belt. Which, by the way, they go back on Twitter, and they post this picture of them laying down naked with the belt covering them. Which is like really funny, dude. You guys are grown-ass adults trolling people on social media about your sex life. I don't know. It's just like not funny, I guess. To me, it's not funny. The overall reaction that I've seen from people on social media was that it's not funny. I just really thought this was bad. I just thought it was cringy. I thought it was stupid. I don't think it really established Ty Conti or Sammy Guevara in a serious manner, which is funny because I feel like they're two of the best. I looked at what AEW has done so good with Ty Conti, by the way. They took a girl from NXT who was never really used in NXT. She finally gets this identity in AEW, and I feel like all of that shit went out the window when they had this segment. And I think what it really comes down to is AEW is forcing something. This seems forced. This doesn't seem like their true selves. It seems like they're playing a character that they have no idea how to play. Their characters will work as heels. Their characters can work, but they haven't even established themselves as heels. There is literally nothing to this that makes sense to me. Quite honestly, I find it very strange, but this is the worst shit I've seen on AEW television, and I feel bad, but I genuinely believe that. And it sucks, by the way. It really sucks. That was the worst thing I've seen on AEW. I can't take them serious. The two people that I think are incredible athletes, I'm just thinking, why the hell are they doing this stupid shit? And by the way, if this was WWE, I would say that too, just so you know. Albert dropped another $2 super chat. Albert Pons says, I felt bad for Sky and Top Team during this promo. American Top Team? Yeah, dude. How the hell did they put Scorpio Sky dealing with this bullshit? Which, by the way, Paige Van Zandt can't even wrestle yet. She's still training. This was just a nightmare. I don't know why in the hell this was on TV. I don't know why. I really, really don't know why. But it is what it is. Thank you, Albert, for your $2 super chat. We got another super chat, $4.99 from Sam Piboon. Hopefully I pronounced that right. When will we see CM Punk against Adam Cole one-on-one? Because I want to see the match on TV or pay-per-view. Sam, this is a wonderful super chat. You guys are killing it today with super chat. Super chat party. Skirt. Let's go. Sam, you are right. That is a match I do want to see. And I don't think there should be, and it's unfortunate because Adam Cole's record right now, most of his wins are through bullshit, right? Cheating, outside interference, whatever it may be. There's always some sketchy ass bullshit that's happening in an Adam Cole match in AEW, which is fine. I get it. It's his character. It's part of his shtick, which is fine, right? It works out for Adam Cole. CM Punk versus Adam Cole will be entertaining if there's none of that. If I'm constantly seeing ref bumps, if I'm constantly seeing bullshit, I just feel like that match needs to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, Sam, but I feel like that match should be, that's a pay-per-view worthy match, by the way. That is a pay-per-view worthy match. I would not give up CM Punk versus Adam Cole on television. I want to see that feud, right? It's like one of those things where you look at Adam Cole and what he did in NXT, and then you look at him in AEW and you think, wow, him working with CM Punk in 2022, it's probably going to be a big deal. It feels like it has a lot of potential, just like MJF and CM Punk, right? This would be special. I think they should do it at some point. It's going to be summer of 2022, man. It should be the summer of Punk. You know, CM Punk is not going to be doing this for so many years. get some of these big matches out of the way, have people talking about it, and I think it'll be really cool. And again, thank you, Sam, for your $4.99 super chat. I do appreciate that as well. If you guys want to get in your super chats, get them in now. We just got a few more things to talk about, and then the show goes off the air. I would love to read your super chats while we're actually live. I feel bad for those who send super chats after the fact. Next, though, we do get the Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. Not a long match. If I'm being honest with you, man, I love this feud. And, you know, we've seen it kind of boil over on Dynamite. We've seen it boil over on Rampage. Obviously, the Revolution pre-show, kickoff show on YouTube or whatever. This has obviously been building up. This was, I think, the rubber match. Just really cool, man. Layla Hirsch wins. It's controversial. She's cheating. She's bullshitting all the freaking time. She's getting herself over as a heel. I'm going to give AEW credit here. Layla Hirsch is somebody that I really didn't care about when she got in AEW. And again, this goes to show you, it's like the Ty Conti thing, right? Just somebody you probably don't care about watching, and then as time, you just really grow onto them and you really enjoy their work. Legit, Layla Hirsch is awesome. She's awesome. And she plays the heel role very well. Red Velvet works perfectly for this feud. Babyface. It's just some traditional stuff, man. I like it. It's controversy. The controversy sells. It's cool, man. It's cool. I love what they're doing here. Layla Hirsch, too, by the way, she gets her ass beat because Chris Statlander comes out. So this is another thing, too, that's like, this establishes right away that Chris Statlander and Layla Hirsch are probably going to start the feud, singles feud. There's not a women's championship belt on the line, right? That's my biggest complaint about AEW, by the way, has been AEW having a feud for the World Women's Championship, a feud for the TBS Championship. Now we have seen those two titles have feuds. We've seen Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida have a really good feud, which, by the way, is not for a championship belt. And then now you have legit Layla Hirsch and Red Velvet and Chris Statlander all involved in a story. It's not a top of the card thing, but you're watching a story develop, and as this story is crafted, it's actually won me over in terms of how good Layla Hirsch is, and then, of course, how good Red Velvet is. By the way, I don't know if I've said this before on live stream. Red Velvet has next to Bryan Danielson's music in AEW. Red Velvet has the next best theme song ever. The Stir It Up. To me, it kind of reminds me of like the Too Cool WWF theme music, and like, I don't know, man, it's like some crazy ass theme song. It's so simple, so effective. It's awesome. I think that song is a banger. So I actually like this. It wasn't long. It was kind of quick and effective. It made sense. It's logical. Again, like literally everything tonight was pretty damn good. The only thing that was really bad was the Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti thing, which is like shocking to me, but it is what it is. We get Thunder Rosa back on the stage. She's interrupted immediately by Vicky Guerrero. Really effective promo for both of them. Nyla Rose takes out Thunder Rosa. Very clear that Nyla Rose is going to be the next person in line for Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is going to beat Nyla Rose more than likely. I just don't see a situation where Thunder Rosa is going to lose. Now, this actually happened in the same arena where Nyla Rose won the championship belt. Yeah, I mean, it was effective. Vicky Guerrero is annoying. She's cringy. She's super annoying. Super annoying. I don't really think there's any more adjectives I can really add to that. I just think that, yeah, Vicky Guerrero is great at a heel character, and she does a really good job. It doesn't matter who she's really working with. I think she does a good job of just being annoying, and the crowd turns on it. Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa. We'll see how it goes. I don't know really what to make out of it. I think Nyla Rose is stuck in like creative limbo as well, you know? Not really doing anything. Now she's automatically like randomly getting a championship opportunity. It's like you haven't really been doing anything with Nyla Rose on TV to really make her earn this championship belt. You know, you might have her featured on Dark or these shows or whatever, but she's not winning any single feuds, like any meaningful feuds on television on a weekly basis. So that's where I kind of have an issue with it. But you need to have somebody lose to Thunder Rosa, and that's kind of the way you're going to do it. Vicky Guerrero absolutely kills it on the mic. The crowd hates it. Thunder Rosa is a believable champ. She gets her ass beat. The championship belt looks good. Now the women's division is starting to heat up a little bit. Now is a real test for AEW to see what they can do without Britt Baker holding that belt. Britt Baker held the championship, and she held that division down. So as somebody who's a big fan of Thunder Rosa, I hope they continue to doing good stuff with it. We finally get to the main event, Jericho Appreciation Society versus Dark Order. We got Alex Reynolds and John Silver absolutely delivering an incredible match. I feel like I don't even have to talk about how good this is. Sports entertainment at its finest, baby. Jericho and Daniel Garcia are incredible. I really love this match, and I do want to give some props to AEW here. Dark Order is a team that is incredibly relevant in AEW, but they never win anything meaningful in this company. And they are so freaking good, man. They are so freaking good. They really are. They obviously lose. It's so strange, man. I wish Dark Order was just doing something better, because these guys have been with them since day one. They've completely transformed their entire group. So strange. Albert Pons dropped another $2 super chat. Who do you see finally beating Jade on the roster? Albert, thank you again for your super chat. Can I be honest with you guys? And this is just me, from a wrestling fan perspective, right? I look at the women's roster, and I look at what they've done. They've built Hikaru Shida up. She's a believable champion. They've built up Serena Deeb, who is a very believable champion. Now you're building up Chris Statlander, Layla Hirsch. You have a couple people you're building up. So who do I finally see beating Jade? It's a tough question to answer. For some reason, I have a very, very, very strong feeling that AEW might lean towards Britt Baker being the one to do it. I really think that would be a stupid decision. And I will stand by that. If AEW has Britt Baker beat Jade Cargill, I think that is ridiculous. Jade Cargill is 30-0, 50-0, 100-0. I don't know. At this point, she's winning a lot of matches, and she doesn't lose a lot of matches. That's right. She hasn't lost any matches. So with Jade Cargill, I think you got to put I think you keep Jade undefeated for as long as possible, but in the meantime, that those three women, right? Red Velvet, Layla Hirsch, Chris Statlander, that would be remarkable. Keep building them up. Keep building them up. Keep building them up on a weekly basis. And again, thank you, Albert, for your super chat. And we just got another super chat from Myra. I second Albert's, or will there be a defeat? I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do, guys. I really don't know. I genuinely think if you're AEW, you don't need to put the belt on Britt Baker. Ty Conti is now stuck in a romance angle with her boyfriend, and she's talking shit about Dan Lambert. She's doing that thing. I don't know. I look at the women's division as it stands, because they haven't brought in Ember Moon. They haven't brought in Toni Storm. They haven't brought in Mia Yim. They haven't brought in any of those free agents, which any one of those would be pretty ideal, right? Now, there's two ways AEW can book this, and I want to talk about this in a little bit in depth. There's two ways that AEW can book Jade Cargill losing her championship. When you look at the women's division, you have Chris Statlander, Red Velvet, and of course you have legit Layla Hirsch, right? Layla, Red Velvet, and one thing that you also got to keep in mind, Ty Conti's now doing other stuff. The Bunny is doing some other stuff. Penelope Ford's not on TV. Britt Baker just lost the women's championship. I think if you're AEW, what you need to really do here, truthfully, I think you need to focus on Chris Statlander, Red Velvet, and legit Layla Hirsch. So there's two ways. There's two ways that you can book Jade Cargill losing this championship belt. One, you can continue building up Layla Hirsch, Chris Statlander, and Red Velvet. Or you can have somebody from outside the company come in and win the belt. Now, if you're wondering, how do you make that happen? This is how you can do it. Jade Cargill, at the time of this recording, I think she's 29-0 or 30-0. She's still undefeated. I think the sweet number should be 50-0. I think it would be a very impressive thing to go 50-0. I think it kind of exceeds The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, but it's obviously less than Goldberg's streak. I think you got to find some sort of middle ground. Plus, with Jade Cargill at this point, like, who else is she going to keep winning against? Like, they don't have a big women's roster. So if you're AEW, to be an effective booker, in my opinion, if you continue building up Chris Statlander, Red Velvet, and Layla Hirsch, any one of those three, then you can just immediately, through the ranking system, at some point you can have them actually go on to face Jade Cargill and shockingly win. You can do that by building a traditional feud. Hey, I'm a good wrestler. I won these matches. Now I get a championship opportunity. Now, if AEW wants to make a business decision that would get their crowd very, very excited, I look at Toni Storm, Taya Valkyrie, Ember Moon. I feel like there's somebody else that I'm missing. Mia Yim. There's quite a few names that are free agents, right? If you're AEW, you can always have Jade Cargill, maybe at Double or Nothing, do an open challenge at the pay-per-view. It would be a very interesting decision, considering that the show is not actually, the pay-per-view is not on TBS, but having an open challenge and then having an outsider win would then be a logical explanation as to why Jade Cargill actually lost her belt. Because at that point, if you've built her up to be this one that's like she's constantly winning matches and stuff, having her lose her belt to somebody who just randomly showed up without being prepared, it's a logical reason as to why she dropped the belt. So that is something to definitely consider. I think that would be a really, really big way to bring in an outsider. But also, that's why it's really important for AEW to continue building that mid-card division for the women. Ty Conti is doing some bullshit stuff with Sammy Guevara on TV, right? Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida still got their issues. They're going to have their issues forever. So at this point, Chris Statlander, Layla Hirsch, or Red Velvet, continue to book them strongly, let them climb through the ranking system, and then you can establish a new feud for Jade Cargill. Or if you don't want to do it that way and you have plans to bring in Toni Storm, Taya Valkyrie, Mia Yim, Ember Moon, whatever it may be. Hell, if you want to bring in Eva Marie, it doesn't matter. You have an opportunity to make some big decisions that solidify not only a rising star, but you can also solidify a great debut, a great moment in the AEW history books because somebody has defeated Jade Cargill. Now, what's really scary is what happens after Jade Cargill loses. Does Jade Cargill ever lose this championship belt? The TBS championship belt is the most prestigious belt in AEW because the person holding it has not lost. Now, for me personally, as a fan of pro wrestling, you have to look at the validity of those wins. Jade Cargill does have a lot of wins, but she is not winning these matches against the biggest names in AEW's women's division. That's another thing that you got to factor in. I think quality is just as important as quantity. But by the way, spoiler alert, Jade Cargill is my favorite women's wrestler in all of wrestling right now. Yeah, believe it or not, there is a lot of great names in the world of wrestling, but Jade Cargill is up there. She's at the top. The presentation is everything. And by the way, she embraces it. She embraces the hate and the trolls and the Twitter and the social media. Wrestling fans, they go onto Twitter that she's green. What does she do? She dyes her hair green and she starts wearing these like jumpsuits or whatever that are with money on it. Yeah, I'm green as money. I'm still the champ, bitch. She is the best, bro. Jade Cargill, they got it right. She's not going to impress you with 450 splashes and Canadian destroyers all throughout her match, but she is looking like a star. And the best part is that not only did she do it because she is good, but AEW has basically saw the response, and I think they reacted in a way that made sense. They continued to let her do her thing. Jade Cargill is the future of pro wrestling. And again, I've said this before. How AEW treats her could very well determine if she stays in AEW. Cody Rhodes is going to WWE. You know, Jade Cargill had an opportunity to go to WWE. She chose not to go there. Maybe Cody Rhodes goes to WWE, has this amazing experience. Maybe people start to realize Vince McMahon can book former AEW talent in a way that Tony Khan can't. I feel like WWE would love to have their logo and Jade Cargill together, right? Their brand all one. Jade Cargill would be perfect for AEW. So it's just something to definitely keep in mind. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go that route. Those are the two ways to book Jade Cargill. I want to know what you guys think. We did get some super chats along the way. Larry sent in a super chat for $2. He says, I think Chris Statlander should win the TBS title. That's not a bad idea. Again, it kind of falls in line with what I said. You just got to build them up progressively. You just got to constantly do that, right? You just got to keep doing it on a week-to-week basis. As long as you're doing it on a weekly basis, you're making her serious. I think it's a good thing. They just repackaged Chris Statlander too, so that's another thing that you definitely got to be mindful of, and that's why character development is so important. When you walk around the television show looking like an alien, I don't know if I want you to be a champion. It's just like watching Nikki Storm become a superhero in WWE. I don't know if you're a believable champion, but now Chris Statlander has changed her gimmick a little bit, just some small presentation changes, and now I immediately think give her some wins, start building her up on television. Don't do it on AEW Dark and Elevation. Do it on television, and you'll be fine. Thank you, Larry, for your super chat, by the way. We got another super chat from Zachary for $1.99. He says, Marina Shafir should be signed and enter that mix. 1,000,000%. Her work that she has shown on AEW Dark and Elevation has been incredible. The fact that they haven't signed Marina Shafir is absolutely ridiculous. AEW's women's division is lackluster compared to WWE. Look at NXT, look at Raw, look at SmackDown. WWE has some really big talent. Sometimes it's a little too much talent when you look at the women's roster because you have Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey. You have Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Toxic Attraction. Now you got Wendy Chu. I mean, like literally, you got a lot of talent in WWE from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And AEW has talent. They do. But they don't have depth. And I think the way to do that is by making some more signings. Every week you're announcing a new wrestler who's a male from WWE joining your company. There is a plethora of women that left WWE or got fired by WWE or left Impact or left these other companies. There's people that are working in GCW. You know, Mickie James is working NWA and Impact, and you don't even open the forbidden door to bring in Mickie James. Start making some signings for this women's division, and your women's division will be really good. It's getting better. It's progressing a lot, and that is very well true. Thank you, by the way, Zachary, for your super chat. Let's do this. Let me put an image on the screen. It looks like my camera's being funny, so we're gonna, no big deal. We'll just put a logo here while we're finishing up the show. Unfortunately, sometimes that does happen because the camera is so... I probably do gotta buy a new camera, unfortunately. It just like overheats, I guess. We did get another super chat. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep up. You guys are sending a lot of them. Web Surfer Guy. We got a new name sending a super chat. Wow, look at that. A $5 super chat from Web Surfer Guy. Another way to take the belt off of Jade is a triple threat or fatal four-way, so she could still claim to have never been pinned, so she stays dominant. Absolutely wonderful idea. Yeah, it's very logical. It's effective. It makes a lot of sense. You know, it would be interesting to see how AEW choose to do that, because there's a lot of people not being used, man. So which women do you put in that match, right? Like so the problem with that, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have this three-way story with Red Velvet, Chris Statlander, and Layla Hirsch, which is great. You have Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb. That's 5 women. Maybe can you make it like a fatal 6-way and just put all of them women together? That could be an option. It just really depends on how long they want to keep the belt on her, for how many more months. But I do love that idea, Web Surfer Guy. I really do. Another way to take the belt off of Jade is a triple threat or a fatal 4-way. I just think a multi-person match in this case does make a lot of sense, and I would actually be really cool about that. Thank you, Web Surfer Guy, for your $5 super chat. I really do appreciate that. Myra sent in another super chat. I don't see logic with Baker defeating Cargill or anyone, really, to be honest. I'm not a fan, but I also see how they're promoting her, so a curveball. Myra, I agree with you. You know, Britt Baker held the belt. She held it down for a very, very long time. It's not really necessary. And if Britt Baker is the type of person on TV that needs to have a championship belt at all times to be relevant, I think that says a problem about AEW's ability to book, not a problem with Britt Baker. So, I do get kind of concerned that maybe AEW is going to put the belt on Britt Baker. I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't. I think the effective way to have good television is by simply putting your wrestlers in meaningful storylines with meaningful characters. And Britt Baker has a meaningful character. She plays the heel role correctly. Now, one name that I didn't mention is Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter is somebody who was revealed to join Britt Baker, and what the fuck is happening here? Sorry for swearing again, people, but I'm just curious. Jamie Hayter should be treated as a much bigger deal. And I don't understand I understand WWE's logic of how they book their women's division, right? They don't really have logic. They put you in a match, and if your name's not Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair, your match is pretty much meaningless, right? In AEW, they do this thing where it's based on wins and losses. Well, Jamie Hayter is not in a big feud. She's not really been in a singles feud. She's just stuck being. It's like Wardlow and MJF all over again, right? I look at Kiera Hogan and Diamante, right? Albert Ponce mentions that in the chat. That's another thing that people got to keep in mind. They are literally not doing shit with them. So yeah, I think at some point, and I'm seeing some people say in the chat, they're like, well, you definitely need to use people and not just sign everybody. And that's true. We were talking about Taya Valkyrie and all these other names that are free agents, but it's look how many people aren't being used. It's just not logical for Baker to beat Cargill. I agree, Myra. Thank you for your super chat again. Albert Ponce also mentions in the chat, he says, and Mercedes Martinez. That's another name. That is another name. Yeah. I look at AEW and I look at their women's division. I just think it could be they have the talent. They have it. There's just a disconnect. There is definitely a disconnect there, and I think that's the result of just simply not booking it where everybody you don't have enough TV time. There's a lot of reasons for this. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. There's just not enough TV time, honestly. And then you have Rampage. You got to start putting these people in meaningful feuds. Putting them on TV is one thing. In AEW, there's always tag matches. There's always factions. There's always something happening. But AEW needs to do a little bit more than just putting people on TV. Start doing some stuff with them on TV, and I promise you, it will make a lot of sense. It will make a lot of sense in the long run of your business to make sure oh, by the way, Jamie Hayter has somewhat of a slow burn with Britt Baker. What happened to that, by the way? Okay, well, this week we don't acknowledge it. This week we don't acknowledge it. Okay, well, we'll just get back to it when we can. That's a terrible philosophy. People don't have long attention spans. You know what I mean? The reason why Kenny Omega and Hangman Page was so good with that long-term story was because every single week it kind of it progressed. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker has not. So again, there's just it's a weird situation. I love AEW and I love what they're doing, and I thought tonight's episode was really fantastic. But I do look at this as a problem, and I love that you guys are bringing it up, and these super chats are awesome because you guys are all making great points. So again, thank you. Web Surfer Guy, Myra, thank you for your super chats as well. Albert, Zachary, thank you guys. Oh, we actually got another super chat. I didn't even see this. Zachary sent in a super chat for $4.99. I love Marina Shafir. She can even enter the main event scene. She's a badass martial artist. She can mix it up with either Jade or Rosa. 100%. 100%. It's not like AEW is lacking the depth. I don't know. I guess I speak from a perspective as a wrestling fan. You're not supposed to always agree with me or disagree with me. We're supposed to have this conversation, and what I like doesn't mean that's what the general audience likes. But from a fan perspective, I just look at what they have with Marina Shafir, and I just think, well, you haven't technically announced that you've signed her. You haven't really done anything with her other than put her on Dark Elevation, whatever. She's sitting here on a YouTube show. She could be up there if you want to put her up there. But instead, what you do is you go sign Paige Van Zandt, who is a bigger name in the MMA world, which I'm not going to knock that. I've said time and time again, it's a signing that does make sense for AEW. And I appreciate that they've done that. But I look at Marina Shafir as somebody who it's like, well, you haven't signed her yet. I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, you guys remember when Jamie Hayter debuted? She came in with the black hoodie, like you couldn't even see her face. Then she puts down, well, it was her return technically, from after COVID and everything. But she comes out and then she's got her hoodie and everything, you know, and her face gets revealed. It was so impactful, man. It was so impactful. And I think you could kind of do the same thing with Marina Shafir. I actually do believe that. They have the stars on their roster. It's just about putting them out there in the right way, and they just haven't done it. And here's the thing too, right, Zachary? Because I agree with you. But now, let's just say, you know, Double or Nothing is Memorial Day weekend. It's March 23rd. I don't think that's enough time for AEW to formally announce the signing of Marina Shafir and then position her in a way that should be the one to end Jade Cargill. But by the way, she could end Jade Cargill's streak because we know she's a legitimate badass. So again, it's just not the most effective thing. But yeah, it was very interesting. It was a very, very interesting situation that they're kind of putting themselves in. But I like AEW, and I think there's a lot of, again, I said this all throughout the night, I think there's a lot of good that they do versus bad. Far more good than bad. But sometimes I scratch my head. This was one of those situations. And it's actually really funny too, by the way. One thing I want to mention. Earlier, I spent a lot of time talking shit about what they're doing with Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara. Mind you, look at how fantastic they've been with Anna Jay and Ty Conti. Either one of them could be going for that belt. But now, there's no momentum on their side. That's the way I see it. I don't feel like they have any momentum to really take the belt from Jade Cargill. They could have. And people will sit here and be like, oh, well, Ty Conti can't cut a promo. She can't cut a promo. Guys, I know some people are going to harp on this. But you don't need to have her cut a promo. She can have a mouthpiece. Imagine Ty Conti. Okay, you want to turn Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara heel? I have an idea. I have a really good idea. What if you have Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara go heel? And Ty Conti, who has a hard time delivering promos, has this boyfriend who's a simp, and all he does is he just does the talking for her. Like, imagine they're heels, right? Like, I don't want to compare it to like Maria Kanellis and Mike Kanellis. That was like a weird thing that WWE did. But I feel like they can almost do something like that. I really do. I don't know. Very interesting stuff. Zachary just sent in another super chat. He says they could do undefeated versus undefeated. She hasn't lost any matches like Jade. Zachary, I agree with you. I definitely agree. The problem is Marina Shafir, she's kind of in a situation where it's like she hasn't been on Dynamite having prominent storylines or singles matches or anything for that matter. So, unfortunately, when you don't build up storylines and or anything really, it's like, it's hard. It's so hard to do that, in my opinion. Now, that's the thing I hate about Dark and Elevation, by the way. It exists, but nobody, like, the records carry over, but those wins aren't as meaningful as the ones that you see on TV. You know, I don't think they're as, the perception is reality. And I think you telling me I wrestle in front of millions of people watching on television or 100,000 people watching on YouTube. There's just a difference between it. We know that Dark and Elevation are not presented as the big shows like Dynamite and Rampage. And to me, I don't feel like those wins actually matter. So while you are 100% right, they can do undefeated versus undefeated, you're going to have to put Marina Shafir on television like right away to establish that. But again, it just goes back to what I was saying. Like, you already have talent who have been impressive. You built up Ty Conti. You built up Anna Jay. There is potential there. If people are worried that Ty Conti can't hit a promo, I promise you guys she can hit a promo. Or you can literally have Sammy Guevara do all the talking for her. Because guess what? Sammy Guevara is not a good promo either. But imagine Sammy Guevara is like literally speaking for her at all times. He carries her championship belt for her. You know, I don't know. I'm not saying it's the fucking most brilliant storyline. I'm just saying that, like, it could be pretty good if that's a concern. Like, I think there's ways to maneuver around a wrestler not being able to deliver the best promo. I said the same thing about Ricochet in WWE. I say the same thing about people in AEW. You know? And then you have people, by the way, you got to keep that in mind. You have literally, you have people forget this. You really got to remember. You have Dan Lambert cutting promos for Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. By the way, those two guys are fantastic on the mic. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's like one of those things. Like, I don't know. It's a very weird thing because I love Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and I love Dan Lambert. Actually, I think he's a heel, so he says all the things that make the AEW hardcore audience mad. But it just goes to show you, like, you like, there's reasons why people are put in these situations, man. They don't need it. Like, oh my God, Albert Ponce just put something in the chat. This is killing me because it's such a good point. Tay Conti can come out with the cue cards for a promo. Unbelievable. Steve says, where the hell is Ruby Soho? Holy shit. I forgot about Ruby Soho. Unbelievable. That just goes to show you the issue here, man. It's sad. That's sad. I totally forgot about Ruby Soho. Somebody else. All the momentum is gone, and I just simply don't understand it. I really don't understand it. It doesn't make sense at all. Thank you, Zachary, for your super chat, by the way. We did get another super chat from Myra. Myra says, I understand sometimes. So the $5 super chat from Myra, I understand sometimes you have to let things play out, but AEW not striking while the iron is hot with people like Hater takes away from the storytelling. It's actually my biggest complaint about AEW. It's my biggest complaint with AEW because here's the thing. I believe that the attention span is very, very low for a human being. I read it on Google, so it must be right. It was like 8 seconds per like human or something. Absolutely insane. Like, people don't have an attention span, and long-term storytelling is great for wrestling, but you got to constantly remind people like what the hell is going on, because otherwise people start losing their interest, you know? And I don't see a lot of callbacks between Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, and I don't know what they're doing, you know? I 100%, I don't think anybody has said this better. Sometimes AEW not striking while the iron is hot with people like Hayter takes away from the storytelling. It does. The way they had this story, it's identical to Wardlow, so maybe that's an issue for AEW. Maybe they feel like it's unoriginal because they literally just did it with Wardlow and of course MJF. I don't know. That's a very weird situation. I genuinely don't know. But I do think you got Rampage, you got Dynamite, and by the way, let's just talk about that for a second. Rampage is going to be massively awesome this week. And it's like, you could have, like, I don't know. You have 2 TV shows. You're establishing Keith Lee on Rampage against Ricky Starks. It's going to be Swerve versus Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship on Rampage. Like, that's exciting. Why? Because if you watch Rampage every week, you see the story progressing. I don't know. Maybe they think Rampage is less than Dynamite, but they didn't strike hot with Jamie Hayter. To me, there's no momentum there. So when they do put it on TV, and we'll circle back to this when that happens, but when they do put it on TV, I just feel like it's going to be a good thing for the moment. But when you look at the build, it's just not going to be executed. Thank you again, Myra. Thank you, Zachary, for your super chats. You guys are incredibly awesome. I read something in the chat as well. MGT Gaming says Myra and Zachary are having a super chat party. Yeah, dude, we might have to trademark that. Super chat party, huh? Maybe I'll get like a graphic or, oh my God, guys. All right, that just gave me a cool idea. I'm going to see if I could find an animator, somebody who can animate the thing. So every time we get like a super chat, maybe I can get something with like the Young Bucks like doing a super kick. And then like it pops up on the screen saying super chat party. Dude, that'd be sick. Definitely would be sick. Polo Sense 1 says, not to be rude, but I don't really get Jade Cargill. I don't find her appealing. Can you explain why she is popular? I'm a little disconnected from AEW. It's just presentation. I think they've just done a fantastic job presenting her. They made her they made her look good. They made her, she's not going to wow you with her wrestling skills. She is with smart Mark Sterling, which, by the way, that was freaking incredible idea. He's the perfect guy to work with her. From the minute that they brought Jade Cargill in, you know, obviously they did the whole thing with Jade and Shaq and all that stuff too, which was cool. You also got to keep in mind, another thing about Jade Cargill is from the beginning, who was going to represent her talent? who was going to be her manager. AEW made that a big deal at first, and I think a lot of people actually forgot about that. But once they did that, it was like, okay, this person looks the part. Can she be the part? And the AEW audience actually hates somebody like Jade Cargill because she's not like this phenomenal indie wrestler that does 6 million super kicks in a match. But I think that even makes Jade Cargill better. She is the sports entertainer in AEW. So as a heel, she gets over completely. It's a wonderful thing. It is so wonderful. Zachary again with another super chat for $1.99. To make Jade a solid champ, let her beat Britt Baker. 100%. I 1,000,000% agree with that. I actually do not disagree with that at all. You can actually build the feud with Jade and Britt Baker. You can do that starting next week. Have them wrestle at Double or Nothing. In fact, here you go. This is how you do it. You book Britt Baker versus Jade Cargill. What ends up happening is they wrestle at Double or Nothing. Jamie Hayter is supposed to help Britt Baker. She doesn't show up. She's nowhere to be seen. She's not ringside. She never shows up. And now you can start getting back to the building of the storytelling between Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. And Jamie Hayter can officially split away from Britt Baker, give them a singles feud. And it's time for AEW to really put some stock in Jamie Hayter. And meanwhile, Jade Cargill looks incredibly awesome because she then beats Britt Baker. I think that's the best way to do it. Zachary, thank you for your super chat. You're 100% right on the money. 100% without a doubt. 100% without a doubt. That is like perfect. Britt Baker losing to Jade Cargill could be massive. I don't know how good that is because Britt Baker just literally lost. So in the meantime, you definitely want Britt Baker to get some wins and, you know, have her verse some of these people, indie wrestlers, squash matches, quick matches on television, not on Dark, not on Elevation. Do it on TV. Let people know that Britt Baker is still the shit. You know, let her appear as a big deal. And then what you can do, she sets the challenge for Double or Nothing. She loses. Jade Cargill shocks the world. Now you can start bringing up Britt Baker versus Jamie Hayter. Maybe you build up Jamie Hayter for the one. I don't know. But there's a lot that could be done with it. We got another super chat from Albert Ponce. I will trademark post-show super chat. LOL. No, you're not, man. You're not trademarking that. That's mine. I do want to get the graphic though, because that'd be really sweet. That would be that'd be really cool. I'll try to work on that. That might be something like every single time there's a super chat, because you guys are incredible, man. Every single time there's a super chat, I imagine there could be a situation where we literally get a graphic, right? Like I think right now on the screen it's like a purple graphic. But what if we get a graphic that like takes up the full screen, like a super kick, and then like money signs, dollar signs? I don't know. Listen, guys, this is my full-time job, talking wrestling and building a community with you guys. And I would love for you guys. I mean, if you guys are up for it, you have to let me know like through Twitter DM or maybe like Discord or something. But private message me if you guys ever want to call in. You know, especially if you guys are leaving like super chats. If you guys want to call in and talk on the show, that could be really cool. I would love to have you guys. We could just kind of shoot the shit for a couple minutes and talk wrestling. I would love that. I think it would be actually really entertaining for these live shows. My whole thing is to bring people together, you know. And now that I do YouTube as a full-time job, literally my goal is to like, a lot of people don't know, but I'm like literally saving and looking into like resources and doing research to like, how can I turn this from a webcam show to like a legitimate like type of TV show? You know, so every day it's like a 2-hour show talking about all the wrestling news stories, interviews, like having people call in, come into it, like an actual TV studio. Like that's what I want to do one day. Like that's something I've been thinking about for like 10 years now. It takes a lot of time. So I will continue to invest in myself. And as you guys contribute to the show, I just want you guys to know it's appreciated. Literally like every penny literally is appreciated. We did get another super chat as well from Damon Smith. Another new name in the super chat party. Wow. Okay, Damon Smith left a super chat for $5. He says FTR could get Arn. Well, Damon, that would be a nice plot twist. It would be a nice plot twist mainly because of the fact that like AEW at this point in FTR, they've been teasing Bret Hart. Now, obviously, due to the ties of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, that would make a lot of sense. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and I don't want to be like too critical of AEW here, but it just goes to show you like one of the flaws that they do have is they had this whole thing where it was supposed to be FTR versus Brock Anderson versus Brock Anderson, Lee Johnson, and Arn versus Tully FTR, right? I don't know if if it was going to be 6-man or just 2-on-2 with their managers, but nonetheless, that was something that was being discussed. And I think, there was somebody tested positive for COVID, so then they had to postpone it. Like 2 weeks later, they brought it back, but then like nothing ever came out of it. So the idea of FTR getting Arn could be very, very interesting. I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting thing to see happen. I genuinely don't know what the hell will happen there. But I do agree FTR could get Arn. I don't really see the reason or the logic to bring in Bret Hart other than the fact that Owen Hart is going to be there for... They're keeping Bret Hart for the Owen Hart tournament. But that should be very interesting to see that roll out. Thank you, Damon Smith, for your super chat. We got another $2 super chat from Zachary. $1.99 from Zachary. He says Britt can be the first ROH champion with AEW owning. Yeah, I mean, definitely. That is a good point as well. You guys are on fire today. You guys are making some really good points. This super chat party, just so you guys know, we're like less than $20 away from hitting $100 today. That would literally be a record, by the way, just so you guys know. That is absolutely incredible. Britt could be the first ROH champion, and by the way, something I've been talking about in my video, I said, what about AEW having Britt Baker versus Deonna Purrazzo? We've been wanting to see Impact and AEW set that up for a while. They never did. There was issues. And, it's a crazy thing when you really think about it. Like, they never did it. They obviously have a real-life friendship. There's a lot of ways to, do that. Yeah, Britt can be the first ROH champion under the new era. That keeps Britt with some gold around her waist. By the way, she can show up on Dynamite with the ROH championship belt. If you want to put Deonna Purrazzo on AEW television, you can do that. The only concern I have with this is that you go back to focusing on Britt with a championship belt. And I'm curious to see what AEW can do when Britt Baker doesn't have a championship belt. She's been holding the belt. She's been at the top of the card for so long. How can you book Britt Baker without a championship belt around her waist? Because that's a real test for AEW. But I do agree 100%. Britt can be the first ROH champion now that AEW, Tony Khan owns them. We did get another super chat from Myra. $10 super chat. Holy shit. So with Wardlow and Hater comparison, just drop it randomly and pick up with no solid build-up like Baker or Rosa. I'm seeing a trend and not necessarily one that I'm a fan of. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, it's the issue that I have with AEW. And, I've been covering AEW since before the company launched. There's been you're going to have growing pains. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to have flaws. 100%. And I've been saying that for a really long time about AEW's product. You're going to have flaws. The start and stop is the biggest issue I've seen with AEW. Now, so let me, and I want to be careful with how I explain this because I think this is a very interesting scenario for AEW or just circumstance. AEW has proven to us that they could put on a good show, right? Like, it's not uncommon. If you take out the storytelling, for example, take out storylines, for example, you turn on AEW, you're for sure going to watch some amazing matches. There's no story between Dax Harwood and Punk other than Punk says he loves Bret Hart more, right? But when you see that, and it's like something you got to keep in mind, like when you see like these matches are put together without necessarily a storyline or whatever, it's fine because AEW will put on good content. They have good wrestlers. Like they could put on a good show without the storylines. But it's a problem for AEW when sometimes you start and stop, and pick it up randomly at a random time. And the reason why they do this, I can tell you the reason why they have this problem is because they have too many people on their roster. They're trying to give as many people as many people as possible something relevant to do. And the problem is they're struggling with that. It's an issue that they have. They have 3 hours of TV on a weekly basis. That is their issue. So starting and stopping is something that they've done. And the thing is, it's not a bad thing But I imagine that AEW would be consistently the best show on television every single week if they didn't start and stop. I genuinely believe that. I know people will talk shit about NXT, but you don't see NXT starting and stopping anything. And I'm not saying NXT versus AEW. I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're both two different shows. But if you watch NXT on a weekly basis, you're not seeing them start and stop feuds. It's like, hey, you're building a feud between Pete Dunne and Tony D'Angelo. You're going to get that every single week. And I'm not saying that Tony D'Angelo and Pete Dunne is good or bad. You guys could form your own opinion on that. But when I'm watching the show and I pay attention to it on a weekly basis, I know that I'm still hooked on that storyline. Because WWE is letting me know every week that it's happening. Now, when I watch AEW and I see the Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker thing, and it's like, okay, well, you're starting it, then you stop it. Like, it's just, you can't start and stop too much. People will forget it. The momentum, you're losing the momentum, really, is the big thing. My question for AEW, or my concern for AEW, is not, hey, can AEW have a freaking amazing show? Can AEW tell good stories? That's not a concern. I don't think there's a freaking person in this world that would actually seriously question whether AEW can have a good or bad show. Because I don't question it. I think AEW is top notch. I think they have a freaking amazing product. You guys don't stop hearing me gush about AEW. But at the same time too, you have to be fair with your criticisms. If I was talking to Tony Khan about AEW and let's just say, for example, hypothetically, Tony Khan cared about my opinion and I had the ability to have a conversation with Tony Khan, I would tell him, hey, you're doing a great job with your product. Now, keep in mind, I'm just a fan. I have a YouTube channel and that's it. I'm not saying this like with an ego or, because he should take my opinion serious. None of that bullshit. I'm just saying from a fan's perspective, if I had a conversation with Tony Khan or Vince McMahon, I would just tell him, hey, this is why I like something. This is why I didn't like something. Now, as a business person, they obviously don't have to listen to me. Obviously. But it would be really interesting to see how they respond to maybe my criticism. Would they agree? Would they disagree? And if they did disagree, I would love to hear their logic behind why they disagree. You know, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like, if I had a conversation with Vince McMahon and I say, hey, Vince, look, I really don't like the 50-50 booking. And I understand that you've said before you feel like the internet fan club, whatever, is like biased. But I feel like every time I talk to somebody, the number one complaint that I hear is the 50-50 booking and the disqualifications, the countouts, the non-finishes, right? And if Vince McMahon responded, if Vince McMahon just so much so cared to listen to Ango, right? And Vince had this conversation with me. If Vince said, hey, Ango, the reason why we do this is because we look at analytics that show every time we do it, more people are tuning in, the advertisers are happier, this, that, and the whole nine. I'd be like, oh, okay. I still wouldn't agree with it, but I'd be like, oh, okay, there's a reason for it. It's like a pretty good reason, right? Business, it makes money, it's whatever. I don't know the reason for doing it. But that's why I say it. I would just be very curious to hear, like, what is their reason for that? You know? At the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of AEW and WWE, and I think they're both doing something really exciting right now. So, Myra, I agree, 100%. I definitely agree. It's a trend that AEW has. It's not a terrible thing. It's not something that prevents AEW's growth. It doesn't hurt AEW because AEW still could put out a good product with or without it. But I think for the people that are a casual fan, maybe someone like me, I'm obviously a hardcore fan, but I tend to enjoy things in wrestling that maybe a casual viewer would like. I just find it to be a situation myself personally, like as a fan, I would love to see the starting and stopping officially come to an end. And I think Tony Khan is a very smart guy. I think Tony Khan knows. He's between, what's the saying? What's the quote? He's between a rock and a hard place or something like that. I don't even know what the hell that means. But it's like one of those scenarios where it's like, I think maybe this guy he has a lot going on the show. He's trying as hard as possible with the allotted time that he has. You know? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing for AEW because, again, they could still put out a good TV product. A lot of people are willing to cut them some slack. But the ability to start a feud, come back to it on a weekly basis, like, I feel like there's just got to be a little bit of contingency. Or not contingency, what is it? Continuity. That's the word I'm looking for. And if you have some continuity on a weekly basis, whether it's Rampage or Dynamite, it's a very, very strange thing. You know, my biggest complaint about WWE, by the way, thank you, Myra, for your super chat. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, everybody. My biggest complaint about WWE is, like, sometimes you just don't have freaking anything that's logical happening. Like, the idea, instead of becoming a number one contender in WWE, you can do this thing where it's like you just verse the champion, but the belt is not on the line. But if you win, you can get a championship opportunity. The other day I tweeted on Twitter, it was so funny. People try calling me out for this. I have 6 million videos on YouTube. But they were like, didn't you say you hate when champions lose on TV? And I was like, yeah. And I hate when champions lose on TV. It's got to be pretty logical for the most part. But, like, the idea of a champion getting pinned in the ring on TV, to me, makes the belt look worse. And I've noticed that I hate it with WWE. It's like Charlotte's losing the championship contender match. So now, like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm kind of like chewing on my words right now, but I feel like WWE and AEW need to, like, they just need to be better. WWE needs to be better at being logical, and AEW needs to be better with storylines and, like, the continuity of storylines and just consistency. You can be consistently good or consistently bad, but AEW at this point is just not as consistent. And I think WWE, on the other hand, is consistent, and whether they're consistently good or consistently bad, that's up to you to decide. But WWE having, like, a championship contender match is not logical to me. It's dumb. To have a champion lose on television is just simply dumb, in my opinion. So when AEW had champions lose on the belt, I thought it was ridiculous. I for sure thought it was ridiculous. I think it was, what was it? Jurassic Express last week or 2 weeks ago. You guys remember from the live show. We got another super chat from Myra. Myra says, you are much more tactful in your constructive criticism, Ango. I applaud that. I enjoy AEW, and because I've seen them do great things, maybe I start pumping the brakes on expecting it 24/7. Yeah, for sure. I think it's an expectation thing. It's definitely an expectation thing, you know, and I don't have expectations in wrestling. And I stopped having expectations in wrestling because I analyze wrestling. And I think you could drive yourself crazy. I think wrestling fans tend to drive themselves a little bit crazy because we're smart. We read the dirt sheets. We talk about wrestling with our friends and our family. We go to pay-per-view parties. We have a YouTube channel. We have a podcast. Like, we as a society have learned to become part of the wrestling culture in more ways than just buying tickets to a show. So for me as a fan, I tend to literally have no expectations. So people will literally criticize me. Oh, how the hell can you like NXT? Well, completely, if I'm being completely honest with you, how do I enjoy NXT? It's refreshing to see something different from AEW. Now, you might be wondering, well, why do you like AEW? Because it is nice to see something that is different from WWE. Well, you tell us every week that you love Impact. Why do you love Impact? Because Impact reminds me, it's like the nostalgia feeling, right? It's not that Impact is a nostalgic product, but Impact, their product, reminds me of so much of what I used to love about pro wrestling, which is, again, it's different from what I'm seeing everywhere else. So when I go and watch AEW, for example, and I see that AEW has Blackpool Combat Club, why do I like AEW? Because that ain't some shit you're going to see in WWE. In WWE, you're going to see a storyline like Retribution, which actually had so much potential, but the worst execution. So as a wrestling fan, I do enjoy AEW. I enjoy WWE, and I enjoy Impact. And the cool thing is, the flaws that they all have, I am smart enough to point them out, but I'm also smart enough to respect that what those individuals do behind those companies, I can respect that the work and the hustle that they put in, because I can understand that there is some issues with them and how they execute their product. And I don't have expectations. By the way, I log off social media while watching Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, Dynamite, NXT. Occasionally I'll go in and make a tweet, obviously, because I interact with my audience. But for the most part, I don't really use social media anymore, because it's kind of become this cool thing to, whether it's WWE or AEW or Impact or New Japan, GCW, ROH, people just love being negative about these products in some capacity. And that's where I've kind of gotten to the point as a wrestling fan personally, where it's like, okay, well, I just don't want to be part of those conversations. Because if you look at those conversations, truth be told, you become bothered by it. And it's like, there's no reason to be bothered. There's really no reason to be upset about it. There's nothing in this world. Like, I'm healthy, I'm happy. I literally am working my dream job. I worked a job 50, 60 hours a week for 8 years out of high school. And I had been doing YouTube since like 2008 on and off. And then literally since September, I quit my job so I can do this full time, right? I love this. So at the end of the day, yes, I don't have expectations anymore. And the best part about that is, like, if it's good, I enjoy it. And if it's bad, I still enjoy it, because I wasn't expecting it to be anything different. And I don't know, maybe that's just a philosophy that works for me and not for anybody else, but like, not being part of social media helps in that regard. Not talking about wrestling during wrestling. I mean, at times I still do, because, you know, it's just part of the business. But like, for the most part, like, I really don't care to read why somebody is so miserable watching WWE, or why somebody is so miserable watching AEW. I see WWE people doing it all the time. Like, they can't admit that AEW is freaking good, and AEW fans can't admit that WWE is actually good. To me, I find that odd. You know, like, every company offers something different, you know? And by the way, not only do they offer something different, but I think they all literally offer something good. And because they all offer something good, it's just a much more enjoyable product, honestly. And even when you have something bad, the cool thing is, like, for me, I can only speak on my experience, but Myra, thank you. I'm not trying to drag this out too long. I appreciate your super chat again. But for me personally, I think one of the biggest things is like this, right? Like, you have an opportunity to spend money however you want. So if you enjoy AEW's product, right, you can buy AEW's pay-per-view. If you don't enjoy AEW's product, you don't have to buy their pay-per-view. If you enjoy WWE, right, if you enjoy WWE, you can pay for Peacock. I think Peacock, without WWE Network, Peacock is a steal. You add WWE into it, it's like freaking awesome, right? I pay $8 a month for Impact Plus. I feel like it's beneficial, you know? And I think, like, pro wrestling had to evolve. It had to evolve. And, you know, I think for me, I think wrestling it's a different time period as it was back then, but I think wrestling got better. I think in 2022, wrestling has been incredible, because there is literally something for everybody. Like, I have been on record for saying so many times, I'm like, GCW isn't meant for me. It's just not. And then guess what happens, guys? Because, again, I can dictate with my money whether I want to buy the pay-per-view or not. I bought GCW pay-per-views. They're not expensive, and obviously I cover wrestling on the channel. And I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is, like, not bad. Like, it's actually pretty good. You know? I can understand why somebody likes it. And then now I'm going to GCW in Detroit next month. Like, that's the beauty of wrestling. It might not be a thing for everybody, but you can make that choice, you know? And I feel like that's all with expectations. I know that WWE has 50-50 booking. I know that they do these DQs and non-finishes. And it's so funny because I watch NXT and they don't do it at all. Like, it's very rare in WWE NXT where they do these, like, non-finishes and bullshit. So it's like, why do I enjoy NXT more than Raw and SmackDown? Because it's like, okay, you get the basic storytelling. You got a really cool roster. Oh, and by the way, they actually give you finishes to their matches. It's very rare when they don't. And then AEW is a completely different type of product. They're all sports entertainment when you really think about it. It's all sports entertainment. They all got freaking characters. You can't call pro wrestling a sport because it's not like the NFL or NBA. There's not a salary cap. There's not a union. It's not treated like a real sport. I know AEW said in the beginning they were trying to, but they're not. They're not a real sport. You can try and say it as much as possible. It's not. It's sports entertainment. Pro wrestling has evolved into sports entertainment, and the best part is everybody does sports entertainment differently. And I think that is the best part. That is the best part. I think everybody has good shows, man. I think everybody's got something special. This is the first time I've done, this month specifically was the first time where I was like, damn, I think every company literally is on fire. MLW, NWA, Matt Cardona, Nick Aldis, WWE, Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, Dynamite. By the way, just food for thought. Thank you everybody for your super chats today. If you guys want to get any more super chats in, you can join the super chat party. We are getting off the air in about a minute. But the final thing I do want to mention is like Rampage, right? Swerve versus Ricky Starks. I don't know. Is the FTW championship a real freaking thing in this company? I really don't know. But I'm excited about Swerve versus Ricky Starks. And I hope Swerve wins. If Swerve wins, I'll go crazy. Albert Ponce actually just came through with a $5 super chat. With all the companies out there, it does feel like the old territory days. There is something for everyone, for sure. I mean, that's why it's amazing. And I think, you guys may have noticed, I think you guys may have noticed this, but on my channel, obviously I cover a lot of AEW because that's what this channel evolved into, truth be told, with wrestling in general. I was covering AEW before it came back or before it debuted, but as a wrestling fan, one of the biggest things for me was that more so recently in like the last few months, I really want to start covering more than just AEW. And I want to do more live shows for wrestling than AEW. I love AEW and I want to continue doing these live shows for AEW, but it's like I feel like I should be talking about Raw. I feel like I should be talking about SmackDown. I feel like I should be talking about Rampage. I feel like I should be talking about NXT. And Thursday nights I want to do a live stream, and I'm working out some details on that. It's a little bit difficult because NJPW doesn't actually have like a weekly television show, but between Impact and Access TV, it's something I definitely want to talk about on the channel. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening in pro wrestling, and I just feel like it is like the old territory days. And if anything, it's a little bit more enhanced because you have television, television deals that pay like crazy. So the best part is there's a lot of contracts being given out, a lot of free agents. There's a lot of quality free agents. I think, a lot of companies are willing to work with each other. There's rumors of a stadium show. You have WrestleMania weekend, which is huge for WWE. It's massive for WWE. But then also what's really, really cool for WWE is, or for the wrestling business is like, well, you're an independent wrestling promoter. Now you can have your own show during WrestleMania weekend. And like, imagine that, it's become a wrestling extravaganza. It's just so awesome. It really has. It's just been really cool, man. It's really cool to see how wrestling is getting better. And I think for me as a fan, I'm just enjoying it. And like, again, it just kind of goes back to not having expectations. It really does come down to not having expectations. You don't have expectations. Again, what did I say? About AEW in the beginning of the stream? I said Dax Harwood versus CM Punk probably doesn't make the most sense. Like, on paper, it was just like not something I was really interested in. And dude, it was just like, it wasn't long. My biggest complaint about AEW is like sometimes you have these really good matches that take really, really long. That didn't happen. It was nice, quick, effective, fun match. Some good wrestling. Dax Harwood showing everybody why he's the best. CM Punk wins. It's like, okay, cool. Like, again, though, you kind of remove your expectations from the equation. You enjoy wrestling so much more. That's why I don't really feed into like the tribalism that exists in wrestling, because to me, I don't really care. I just really enjoy what I'm seeing. And again, thank you, Albert, for your super chat. Officially, we actually went 2 hours on the show, which is the longest we've done If anybody wants to submit one last super chat, we're actually creeping up on a record of $100. That is unbelievable. If anybody wants to send in a super chat, go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, we will call it a day. I just feel bad to get super chats. It happens literally every show, by the way. We get super chats after the fact. Like literally as like we're going into the outro, I'll get like a few super chats pop up. So if you guys do want to get those out of the way, feel free to do that now. Overall, a really good episode of AEW Dynamite. I think for the later half of it, it might have sounded like I was picking on it a little bit, but no, honestly, it was really good. The only thing that was bad was Tainara Conti. That was the Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara thing was just ridiculous in my opinion. That was the only bad thing. That was literally the only bad thing. Other than that, I think the show was really good. I know a lot of people didn't like the Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose thing with Thunder Rosa. It makes sense though. And that should be really interesting to see how that pans out too. I don't know. I really don't know. Unbelievable show, that's for sure. Let's see. Oh, by the way, don't forget, just as a reminder, streammusic.gg provides all the background music. So if you guys are unfamiliar with streammusic.gg, you can use streammusic.gg to power your streams, content, all that good stuff. Definitely want to check that out. And yeah, streammusic.gg is like my favorite thing. Streamers can use it. It's non-copyright. Did we just get a super chat literally as I'm going off the air? Why does this literally happen every time? Robin. Oh my god, the super chat party is insane. Robin Plays Games just left a $4.99 super chat. We officially broke a world record on this channel, by the way. We surpassed $100 of super chats. That's crazy. Super chat party. Adam Cole, baby. All right, you can end the stream. Wow. Robin, you're crazy. You are crazy. What a super chat party. Holy shit. Yeah, by the way, though, for real, thank you. Thank you, Robin. Honestly, that does mean a lot. Thank you, everybody. Myra, Albert, everybody, literally. Zachary, Damon Smith. Let's see who else. Web Surfer guy. Thank you. Literally, all of you guys are just so incredible. Thank you so much. You guys, you guys are so funny. Hey, you guys are so freaking funny. Hey, I'll be hanging out in the Discord for a little bit. You guys know I don't go to bed until 3 in the morning, but definitely come through and hang out. And I love you all. You guys are so funny. Oh man, I'm reading the chat right now and I'm dying. Anyways, thank you guys all for your super chats. Thank you guys all for a great night. Blackpool Combat Club has arrived on AEW Dynamite. What a great episode. A lot of good stuff. I can't wait to see what happens next Dynamite. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. Peace.